Welcome to the leading podcast for long-term weight management. Subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jenny on all social media channels. You can also sign up to the newsletter to receive frequent content and tips for weight loss success.
Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Power Over Food podcast. I am your host, Jenny McDonald. I hope life is treating you well. I hope you are enjoying the glorious sunshine. It's so nice. And doesn't it just make you feel so much better when it's sunny outside? So anyway, I'm going to jump straight in. Today, I am speaking to a lady who I connected with via Instagram, and she has also kindly provided some lessons that will be inside the Becoming You Academy, which I am really, really excited about because this lady is a personal trainer, but she is very different to how I imagine or perceive personal trainers to be. And maybe that is because my background and my issues with my body image and my weight. But I feel that this lady just gets it. She just gets it. So that's why I've invited her to be on the show. So without further ado, I would like to welcome to the show Donna Pavitt. Welcome.
No, thank you for having me on.
Oh, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. Busy, but good.
Good. Excellent. Okay, so I think we're all busy actually, aren't we? It's that kind of coming out of lockdown feeling. Everybody needs more services, and everything just feels like it's having a kickstart again, doesn't it?
No, just managing it. Time management is essential.
Absolutely, definitely, or self-management.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought we would start off the conversation by just, if you're happy to share, just a little bit about you, your background, how your relationship with food has developed over the years, and anything you think that might be beneficial for our listeners to hear. Yeah,
of course. So my background with my body image and my weight, well, it's pretty much since I come out of the womb. I was always a larger child, and I love food, always have done, but I was always into some kind of fitness, some kind of movement and exercise, but it was always seemed to be the way to lose weight or to change my body. And back then that was just how it was. And I originally started a diet plan, a group. I think I was about 13. And at the same time, I got into kind of the gym workouts rather than your typical thing when you grow up. You do like gymnastics, trampolining, or, sort of other sports. But I got into just standard like gym workouts, mainly to lose weight, because when I was at school, very probably similar to some of the listeners you've got, I was larger at school, approximately about size 20, 22. So I was like, back then there was no real education about different types of nutrition. It was always just about, lose weight, go to a club and get on the scales. So my whole journey with weight loss, my relationship to the scales, and also with exercise started pretty much at 13, 14. And I had been on a diet, like your generic kind of diets, tried all of them, but it was about 20 years before I decided to stop dieting. So it just totally, from that age, as I kind of went through the process, I kind of got to every single goal that I wanted when it got to weight loss. And I put my whole worth, my value, everything on not only the scales, but also how I looked and how other people saw me. And it's a weird culture that when we lose weight, you get approval. And then you get to a certain point where you find your maintenance and your happy body weight. And then it's kind of like you don't get the approval anymore. It's just, it just dips off. And then the person inside you is thinking, oh, I want more, I want more, I want more. So I then I found an absolute passion for fitness, and I loved getting fit. So I'd reached my kind of like happy body weight when I was 22, I'd say 23. Then I got into running. I got into doing triathlons, was like a cardio queen, never stopped, constantly training. Then I qualified to be a personal trainer. So what am I now? 35. So it must have been about 24-ish. I became a personal trainer, really to help share my message of what can be done with weight loss. And then as I evolved, I got into nutrition training, and then I would help people with their nutrition. And then as I've evolved more and more, and how the industry has evolved, I have taken a different angle, because when I was at my smallest, I was really quite unhealthy. You know, I just had a real unbalanced relationship with food. It was all or nothing, you know, training 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then I would have like one day where I'd eat whatever I want. Then I'd get the food guilt. Then I'd be back in the gym next day, 3 hours. And it was a real unhealthy mindset and just disordered way of being. And I just basically burnt out at the age of about 31, 32 and completely crashed, to the point that my body was aching so much and I was just depleted of all energy that I even struggled just to walk like to the corner shop and back. So yeah, it's been a real roller coaster, and that is my like turning point when I was about 32 to change how I coach. You know, I'm a bit older now, so I understand. I've delved more into like hormones and, you know, building strength, moving in a smart way, and not doing all of the mistakes that I've done in the past, and not telling anyone else to do them because it can get really bad for your mental health. Yeah, it's more just focus on your health rather than the scales, anything like that.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. And it's really strange because my last podcast that I recorded a couple of days ago, that will be released by the time this comes out, it comes before this one. I actually talk about the kind of like how I've evolved. And I do think we are constantly learning, aren't we? And we are constantly evolving as people. And therefore, what worked for us in our 20s, you know, is completely different to what works for us in our 30s and our 40s. And I think it's important just to be okay with that as well, because like when on one of the academy videos, I talk about the fact that you will change. So your relationship with food will change. If when you have a family, things change. When you have a partner living with you, things change. So you've got to be adapting. But as humans, we're not great with change, are we?
No. I think I've done a video a couple of weeks ago, and it's like wherever you're at now. If you obviously past the 20s into 30s, even 40s, 50s, is your goal still the same as what it was when you were 20? Because is that realistic with the whole lifestyle that you've got now compared to when you were younger? And a lot of people kind of say, oh, I want to look like I did when I was 20. But I'm like, yeah, but so much has changed then. Like, you've had children, different job, different lifestyle. Your gut health probably isn't the same. Your sleep isn't the same. So you're not going to get that particular goal. So let's change the goal. What's your intentions? Let's be realistic. And I always divert it back to health rather than weight loss. Mm-hmm. I rarely, in like my memberships and stuff, I rarely talk about weight loss. It's all about improving your overall health.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. People want weight loss, that's usually what they're kind of looking for, but it really is about health. And well, my new thing is, do you want to lose weight or do you want a healthy relationship with food? Because actually, you can be whatever you want on the scales, but you can still be fighting the food battle. And that's not really where you want to be. Is you want to be able to, enjoy food, have pleasure, not dread going to a social occasion because of how much you might eat that night, and how you can pull it back, and the same with the movement, the exercise. Well, I've stopped calling it exercise as well, as you know, but it's about enjoying movement and wanting to move your body rather than forcing yourself to go to the gym because you think it'll help you lose weight. So yeah, so important. And I think that mindset shift is is really vital for people to have long-term kind of health goals, because when we're always chasing the scales, it's kind of on or off, aren't we? When we're chasing the scales.
The hardest thing, if anyone is kind of lost weight, sometimes the hardest thing is maintaining that weight loss, because especially if you've done it in a short-term fix or like a fad type of diet, anyone, if we stop eating, reduce our calories, we can lose weight. But then if you're restricting too much, you're going to binge, and then you've got that whole up down. So I mean, that's exactly what I was doing, and I was just doing too much, and I was just burnt out, and I didn't really want to admit it at the time, so I kept going. But it's the response in your body. It's like malnourished. It's thinking, I'm in survival mode. I'm like, feed me. So you do, and then your mind takes over, and you've got that guilt. And I want to take that food guilt away from my clients, like you do with yours, and even for ourselves. We've been through the journey, and we know how hard it is. You just got to override those habits and our brain, and it's like brain training rather than body training. It takes 100%. Time.
Yeah, it does take time.
Yeah, and sometimes I think that you can't necessarily do it on your own. I know I couldn't do it on my own, and I was that way. I went to some talking therapy, had some counselling, and it got me out of the old traumas I used to have as a kid, and it just rewired my thought process. And I had to get, like with everyone, you have to get to that rock bottom point before you can make the change and make the differences. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to ask you why you became a personal trainer, but I guess we've kind of talked about that. So something that I find really interesting, and I know that you have done a lot of work around this, and I think it'd be really valuable for our listeners to hear about, is the effect that hormones have on our appetite and our movement needs as well. So if you're happy to share some kind of thoughts and tips around that would be brilliant.
Yes, yeah. So I've gone through my journey of my kind of weight loss and body issues up and down. And when I was 30, that's the point where I was just exercising too much, not eating nowhere near enough. And I lost my period for a good 3-4 months. And I didn't think really much of it back then. I was on the contraceptive pill, so I kind of thought, it could be that. But I was, brain fog. I was having night sweats. Muscle aches. It was just an endless cycle. And I thought, am I perimenopausal? I had literally majority of the symptoms. And then I rested, because that was the point I burnt out. So I was forced to rest, and then I just I went through the therapy, and then I started to eat more food, and then my periods came back. And again, I was still on the pill at that point. And then I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago now, I can't quite remember. I come off the pill because I wanted to rebalance. I had lots of issues going on in my body, and I went to homeopath and I went to doctors, and they were like, I think you need to come off the pill now. So I come off. And then it took a few months to regulate my hormones. My periods were every 28 days, 28, 30 days, that's fine. Then last year when COVID hit, I had not only to deal with COVID stress, but my mum was quite poorly as well. And I think I just carried on, and I didn't really think about it. I wasn't really focused on myself, because I wasn't the priority a year or so ago. So I just got back into that cycle of being all over the place, being stressed, and then my period stopped again for about 2-3 months. And I was thinking, hang on a minute, what's going on here? So now I'm not on the contraceptive pill. So, and then I couldn't really train and do my workouts. In the week before my period, I was just flatlined. And then 2 weeks when I was ovulating, I had these weird symptoms going on again, just real bad fatigue. But then the week after my period, I could go and do a run or lift some weights. And I thought, I'm going to really key into this, because I need to get my periods back, because I know it's unhealthy to not have them. So I started to look into it, and I started to then track my cycle. And then as I was tracking it, I was noticing when I had the weeks I had the energy, the weeks I didn't have the energy. I noticed the weeks that I was more hungry, the weeks where my appetite wasn't really fussed about food, but I had the energy to carry on. And then I started tracking it, and I used myself as a guinea pig. I spoke to a couple of my clients. I was like, right, can you do this with me? Let's train around your cycle. So I would turn up at someone's house and have like, the kettlebells and battle ropes and stuff. And then they'd be like, Donna, look, I'm on like this. I've just coming onto my period. So then I'll say, right, let's put the equipment to one side. Let's do some yoga fitness instead. And they got so much more out of that. Then when I went to the next week, they could do loads of like kettlebell stuff and high intensity stuff. So then I was like, right, okay, there's definitely behind this. So I looked into a lot more of the science, and there is like 100% us women really need to focus on our hormonal cycle around when it comes to the training and when it comes to your food. Now, I'll give you an example. The week before, so you got your ovulation about 14 days, and then leading up to the day sort of 20 to 28, so that week before we menstruate, we need roughly 16 to 18% more calories. So you're looking at about 150 more calories a day. Now, if anyone is on a diet, they would get 3 weeks into a diet, for example, and think, oh, no, I can't do this anymore. And not without knowing that their period's coming. So for me, when I got to that point, because I knew my period was coming, I was like, actually, no, I'm going to eat more food today. I'm going to have an extra snack. Or I'm going to have a little bit of a bigger dinner. I'm going to have some more peanut butter on my oats, just something. And then my exercise around that time, my body is inflamed. It's getting ready to kind of go through the bleed. So I took a step back from my training. So not only was I eating more that week, I was doing just some walking. I was doing some yoga, concentrating on some rehab stuff, like little like niggles I've got in my body. And then periods would happen. Following week, appetite goes down because the hormones change. And then I was out, doing sort of some weights, doing some kettlebell stuff. I rarely run anymore just because I don't really enjoy it. But, I'll still go out on my walks, but I could do home circuits and feel absolutely amazing. And then I would build strength. I could do a few more reps than the previous month. And then I no longer had to diet as well, because I would cycle my energy all around my hormonal cycle. And it, again, coming back to the mindset and the acceptance that the week before is usually when we think, oh, I'm due on, I'm just going to eat loads of chocolate and I'm just going to sit and do nothing. I'm really achy, but it can make you feel worse because the blood sugar regulation in our body is just going to go up, down, up, down, up, down. So you really want to key into your nutrients. You want to get enough fiber in. You want to just make sure you get enough protein with each meal. Hydration is a key thing as well to get throughout, but especially the week before. And even if you need some electrolytes, the week before as well, because our temperature goes up. So you'll notice you'll get night sweats, just before you come on. So that's why we just need to take care of ourselves and just create movement that's gentle. Don't just sit and veg out. Go for a nice stroll. Do a little bit of stretching. Just mobilize the body and just take the pressure off for 5-7 days, because next cycle, you're going to be out there again. Your appetite will go down, and then you just do that and carry on. The energy is there,
Isn't it crazy that we're not taught this?
So crazy.
And it's true. I say to my clients, they'll say, oh, I'm more hungry, or I'm due on, and I say, well, listen to your body, and they're like, oh no, well, I'm really trying not to eat, and I'm like, but your body, if you're in tune with your body, it's telling you it needs that little bit extra, then go with it. Because as we all know, when we deprive ourselves and think, I can't have it, at some point we just go, stuff it, I'm going to have it. And then we have 10 times as much because we've kind of feel like we've broken it and we're awful. And it is really about kind of getting in tune with your body, listening to what it needs, understanding it. And I think that's really key, because we're not taught this. We're not, and I wish it was, more out there and taught in schools, but maybe one day it will be. But it is, it's
don't know. And if us women don't know about our own bodies, I've done a podcast with a strength and conditioning gym all about a bit more in depth about more lifting stuff around the female cycle. And the guys they was chatting to on the podcast, they were just like, we didn't know this. And even my other half, when I go through stuff with him, he's just like, this is just amazing. If us women don't know it, how can guys understand what we're going through as well?
Yeah.
And I'll go back to the fitness industry quick. All of my fitness journey, and again, this might relate to some of the listeners, I've always been taught by men, and I've always been told, go hard, go home, keep going, don't stop, rest is for the weak, all of those slogans. And it's always go, 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 go. And then for me in the fitness industry, when I couldn't do that, it mentally I would get so frustrated, and it took me down the journey of looking into the hormones. So now those weeks where I do need to take a step back, I enjoy it. I sit on the sofa and watch Netflix for a bit, and then I'll do some stretching, and then I just carry on with my day. But I have a bit of the balance with the rest and the mobility. And don't get me wrong, I do eat chocolate. I tend to have chocolate most nights, after my dinner. But it's nothing is bad. It's everything in moderation. And it's the same with movement.
Yeah. 100%. That's so helpful. Thank you. And I also know you are a fellow lipedema fighter. Has having this condition had an impact on your journey?
Yeah, well, I've only found out 2-3 months ago, I think, that I've had the condition. And it totally blew my mind, because I've gone through my whole journey trying to be a thinner version of myself, smaller version of myself, my whole life. That I've beat myself up with exercise. I've done every single diet, really unhealthy relationship with food at some points, and exercise, compulsive movement. Then when I got diagnosed with the chronic fatigue syndrome 2-3 years ago, because I was always trying to fight to get in a more, what seemed as an acceptable body, that people think, oh yeah, she's a fitness instructor, she must look a certain way. And I literally blood, sweat and tears tried to get to the point. And so then when I got told about the condition and diagnosed, I had a bit of a wobble mentally. And I think that's normal, because you think everything flashes back to when you're when I was at school and I was being bullied, and always thinking, why are my legs so big? And even when I was out clubbing, people would be like, oh, Donna, your waist is so tiny, but your thighs and bums, you've got a booty and all this. I was called Thunder Thighs. And on my Instagram, I've made a 11-minute video about when I got diagnosed. I wrote down all of the comments, bad, awful comments that have been said to me in the past by people passing by. Everyone's got a judgment, haven't they, on someone in a larger body. And I held that onto me. It held it with me. It's almost like that trauma that you hold on to, every judgment. So every comment, I wrote down a bit of paper. And then I read them out loud to the universe, crossed them off. And then on the other side of the paper, I wrote down all the generally nice, good things about me. I am more than just my body, of how it looks. There is actually a personality behind just being fit or just being good at your nutrition. And it's just mad that we live in a society where everyone just talks about being on a diet or judging the food they eat when they're eating it and saying, oh, I shouldn't be eating this, or I should be going to the gym. And it's just yeah, a lot of things come back, but then 2 days after I had my wobble, I come back and I thought, no, I'm going to actually put this to good use, because so many women I've found out have gone through that journey after speaking to yourself and speaking to other people in the community. And it's just mind blowing, what we have to go through without knowing.
Absolutely. And I thought the awareness was so much greater, because I found out, probably about 15 years ago now. And I thought we were now in a point that's so aware, but you're the second person that I've spoke to in the last week that only found out kind of in the last 6 months that they've got a condition. And I just think, gosh, like how is it still not known? It's still not out there enough. And there's not more treatment options. There's not more available to help, even if it's just psychological help.
Yeah. And I think that's it. If I hadn't had the talking therapy, what I've had in the past, it probably would have been harder for me to do, because you have like a toolbox you go away with, don't you? Like a mental toolbox, and you kind of have to go back to it. But when I was about, 14, 15, the doctors would always give me like these fat loss tablets. I can't remember the name of them, but it's whatever you ate kind of come out with you, and I was always like given a tablet. I was never educated for anything. But I remember him saying to me, "You're never going to get the body you want unless you have liposuction." So that must have been 1999, 2000. And I was just like, oh, great. So I was like, can I have it? Being like 14, 15. And he was like, no, just go away, do loads and loads of cardio and eat carbohydrates. And that's what I've done. I've done loads and loads of cardio and ate carbohydrates, and it didn't really serve my body. I'm better at doing weights, low impact, and having a little bit more of a higher like protein, and getting my essential fats in. Because as you know, like the more stressed your body is with lipedema, the worse it gets.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you recommend different types of movement and exercise if you are suffering with lipedema?
Yeah, definitely. So what I have been doing the last year, especially with COVID as well, like obviously gym's not been open, that's been great for me, to be honest. But like for me personally, with me coming out of the compulsive movement, I would say walking is good, because you're out in nature, you're getting some sunshine as well. Even on a gloomy day, you're still getting a bit of vitamin D. And it doesn't matter if you go fast or slow, just get out. And deep breathing as well. So a little bit of like breath work, trying to calm down the nervous system. And then when it comes to general strength and mobility for our joints, because our joints are always kind of like under stress, with, in stress with the condition. So I would always go back to like the yoga fitness or some like Pilates moves. So just gentle body weight movement. I would say to avoid any jumping, avoid the running, depending what stage you're at. Obviously, if you're stage 1, you might be able to get away with more than anyone stage 3 or stage 4. I'm stage 2, and my plan going forward with the condition is exactly what I've just said. I'm going to do my walking, my breath work, my yoga fitness, and kettlebell workouts or like hand weight workouts, doing like your lunges, your squats, but real slow pace, building up, some muscle underneath. We've all got the muscle underneath these legs and our arms, but it's keeping that strength really.
Yeah.
And a slow pace, and obviously swimming, which I've not gone back to yet because of lockdown, but I'm looking to get back swimming when I can, where things have calmed down a bit.
Oh, I got my first swim in this week and it was amazing.
I'm very jealous.
Yeah.
I live right by the sea, and it's okay getting in the sea, but to swim in the sea at the moment is a bit too chilly for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really happy as well, because you've just given me permission not to run anymore.
You know what? I really was into running. I've done like marathons in the past and half marathons and all of that in my 20s, and I thought that would fix my body. But I now just walk, and I power walk on the days I feel good. The days I don't feel so good, I just get out around the park for a gentle stroll. You really have to listen to your body, especially with the condition, because I think from the research I've done over the last few months, a lot of people have got like autoimmune conditions alongside lipedema as well. I don't know if that comes from years of stress for trying to lose weight, or if it comes just from the tissue, the connective tissue. I don't know that answer, but I think that we really know what's best for us. We can always reach out to professionals and other people and ask for answers, but sometimes you need to sit back and think, what's good for me? My body is different to someone on social media or so-and-so, down the road. You just need to not be influenced too much from what you see externally, because you know your own body. You're the master of your own body.
Yeah, absolutely. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, and I think even things like body brushing, I think could be a workout.
Yeah.
On a rest day, me getting body brushing, I actually build up a sweat. I'm probably doing it too hard. Yeah. Like, oh, okay.
It does get the arm muscles moving though, doesn't it? It's like when you kind of get to the second leg and you're like, oh, okay, swap arms.
There's an appreciation in to be able to move your body as well with the condition, and just in general around the hormonal cycle and around just life. If you have got that relation, some people love exercise, some people hate it. So it's trying to find a balance of what you enjoy. Some people like dancing as well with the condition, you know. Yeah.
And I think it's also with any sort of movement is finding what you love, isn't it? You know, I say to everybody, don't go and get a gym membership. If you hate going to the gym, that's absolutely pointless. You know, what do you like doing? And if that is putting some music on and dancing around your living room, or doing the wee dance fit, or, you know, whatever it is. Somebody told me about one earlier. What was it called? Fitness Marshall. And I was just like, that sounds great. I don't know if you know it, but it sounds brilliant. And it's apparently on YouTube, and it's dances, and they have, it's a guy and he has two women with him that do it at different levels. And it's just like a, you know, song. So I was like, right, this evening when Nancy comes home, I'm going to put it on YouTube and have a little boogie with her. And, you know, that's just moving your body, isn't it?
It is, definitely. And I mean, like, with what you said about running, if you enjoy it, go running. But if you don't enjoy it, just do power walking.
I've got, it's really weird. You know what? I think I cracked through the running. I had a mental block with it until about 2 years ago, because my memory at school was coming last around the running track, and the whole class standing there and doing a very slow.
Oh my God.
And I was kind of made to finish by the PE teacher, and they were all, come on, we can't go for break until you finish. And it was just like, you know, one of those memories that will never, ever leave me. And about 2 years ago, I started running with a friend, and we did the Couch to 5K, and I got up to running for over 20 minutes. And that for me was like this huge achievement. And I was like, put it out there on Facebook. I've just run. I've never run in my life. Oh my goodness. But I've kind of, it's dropped off lately. And I think part of it is I keep listening to people say that, you know, it's not necessarily the best form of exercise if you have got lipedema. And partly is just, you know, time and the motivation. And, you know, wow, it's funny. So I spoke to a lady a while ago about motivation on one of the podcasts, and it really is, you're motivated to do things you want to do, aren't you? And actually, I'm not motivated to go running. So it kind of says it all, really. So,
but don't get me wrong, if you fancy one day that you just want to go for a run, intuitive run, go out there. Don't set time on your watch. Just put your music in and just go for a nice little plod. You know, there's no pressure on that. That's in my opinion, really good, because that will just probably put any negative energy out, or it will like make you feel good. Even, you know, so I'm not saying it's like don't do it or whatsoever, but it is going by how you. I want to take that pressure away from people. You know, if they're in a body with lipedema and they're thinking running is going to solve it and get rid of it, unfortunately it is not. I mean, for example, if I do running, it actually makes my legs bigger, and it's a stress for my body. You know, that's just the way it is now. So yeah, I mean, but I could do some like lunges, squats, yoga fit, breath work, you know, all what I spoke about, and my legs will look leaner. Well, leaner for someone with lipedema, but you know, it's a real funny one.
So interesting. Just to kind of round up, I know for me, when I was in a difficult place with food, the last thing I would have done would be to reach out to a personal trainer. But I also know, while we don't always want to hear that movement is so good for us, it is part of our journey and it is part of well-being. So it's not necessarily, right back to what you said at the start, not necessarily about the health, not necessarily about the exercise, it's about the overall health goal. So what services do you offer if our listeners want to get in touch with you?
I've got a quick question. I really want to know why you felt or had that thought about personal trainers.
Okay.
Only because I'm in the industry, and I suppose I follow like-minded people about health at every size. I did go through my Instagram feed and get rid of anyone that doesn't relate to me anymore, So yeah, I'd love to know your thought.
So I suppose when I was at my, in the worst place, I'm trying to avoid saying at my heaviest because I'm really trying to get away from this whole weight and thing issue. But when I was in the worst place, I suppose I had a perception that personal trainers are, fit, healthy people that would kind of judge me. So that was about me. That's about my own kind of hang-ups. And I think it's also that kind of that fear of commitment, because like even when we were talking before I started recording, I really wanted to say, so how could I work with you? And the reason I didn't want to say it is because if I say it and then I commit to a session or I commit to classes, and then at some point I don't want to do it, I'll feel bad. And I will feel more bad that I'm letting that person down than actually letting myself down. Gosh, I need a coach. Can anyone help me here? I feel like I'm role reversal with one of my clients. So that's kind of, that is why my perception is that I wouldn't work. That is why I wouldn't reach out. Yeah.
And I wonder how many other women feel like that, with, or even men, guys might feel like it too, I should say, I wonder how many other people feel like that, because it is the case. I think that like when you Google a boot camp or like weight loss boot camp or weight loss like fitness club, you do, I suppose, see the videos of people just doing loads of burpees and sprints and running and all of that, which it is fun if you like that. Of course it is. I used to do that all the time, boot camps. But yeah, it's a funny one. I think you need to find a fitness coach, personal trainer, someone you can relate to, someone who understands. And I think the journey that particular trainer's been through on their life, there's some trainers out there who are genetically blessed and they're very, and they've got a figure that, this is what I've had to deal with in the past, working in gyms, that you're confronted with a figure that looks gym fit.
Yes.
And I would walk in with my like curvy thighs and bum and, wobbly top of the arms, and it would be a real contrast but I'm a bloody good coach.
Yeah.
And I sound really big-headed, but I think, because I understand people and I understand it's not easy, and all of the kind of trauma you go through if you're constantly dieting, you're constantly wanting to be in a smaller body. And I think it's just reframing the reasons why that you want a trainer and the reasons to find someone, to find the particular person you want to work with and to take through.
And do you know what's weird, just on this trail of thought, even though, like, when I think about some of the things my clients say to me, and even though they know that I've been through that journey and they've seen my photos and, I'm really, really open about how I still sometimes struggle with food, they still will come in to see me and say, don't tell me off, or Jenny, I've done it. And it's like, it doesn't matter how many times I say, I'm not here to tell you off. I will never, ever judge you. I know how difficult this is. And, I'm still finding my way myself. Their perception is that they've, that it's going to get them in trouble or that they're going to be judged for it. So, yeah, I suppose that is something many of us are still carrying around regardless.
And it is the guilt. I mean, I train some people and I see them or speak to them on Zoom, and I'm like, did you have a good weekend? They're like, oh yeah, I went out for, got a takeaway, had pizza. And I say, oh, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, and same as, yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Because if they go, oh no, I feel really guilty, I'm like, why do you feel guilty? You've had the pizza now. Let's just carry on with your week as normal, you know? Just keep the balance. So I always say it's like an 80-20 balance. So whether you want that 80-20 to be daily or if you want it over your whole week, that's entirely up to you. But I just want to reinforce not to be restrictive with your food, because when you let go of that restriction, that is kind of where, it's actually cheesy, but where like the magic happens, you know, it's where the changes will happen. It's where the food guilt will go, and even the exercise guilt will go. And again, some listeners might have done this, and this might be a reason why they've been put off in the past, that they start a fitness plan and it's full high intensity 5 times a week. They do it for 2-3 weeks, body's aching, they miss a session. Then they're like, oh, okay, I won't carry on the rest of the week, I'll start Monday. And then it gets to Monday and they think, I can't be bothered to jump around and do loads of high intensity for another week. And then all of a sudden that regime will stop. So the way I do it, I've got an online, so leading on to your question, I've got an online membership that it's scheduled around how you're feeling. So if you go onto the membership and you're like, right, okay, I feel strong today, I want to do a low impact kettlebell workout, that's on there. They're all under 40 minutes, all of my workouts. Some are 20 minutes, some are 30, some are 40. So you can pick the time you've got in your schedule. And then you might come on the week before you're like due on, or a week where the lipedema is playing up, or you're like feeling a bit tired, but you want to move because you know you'll feel better for it. And you think, right, I'm going to do a mobility stretch and I'm going to do like a low impact yoga fitness. And then you go on and you do that one. So, and then a week later, you might want to do an upper body blast. So it's literally all there scheduled. You can schedule it to how your body's feeling, like intuitive movement.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So, well, I will obviously put your links in the show notes, but what's your Instagram handle? It's
Donna_health and wellbeing PT.
Brilliant. So, and do you want to share your website as well?
Yeah, so that's Donna Pavitt, wellnesscoach.com. I'm sure it's that. I don't know. It's because we do so much on Instagram now, isn't it?
No, that's it. Everything seems to go through there. And then I come across people and they say, I'm not on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, what do I give you? So brilliant. And I know you do these 5-day challenges, which are absolutely fantastic. So I will make sure I keep sharing those when your next one's comes up. Have you got any scheduled in or?
Well, I did one last November. And I saved those workouts. So if anyone wants to kind of know how I work without kind of investing at the moment, you want to see how I coach as a personal trainer, you can go onto my website and you'll find the 5-day free challenge. So you just go onto that, you'll get all 5 videos. Day 1 is a stretch. Day 2 is core stability. So building up the strong foundation for lower back and ab. Well, I say abs, but core. And then you've got a yoga fit session. And then you've got a low impact, like full body conditioning session. And then on the 5th day, you've got stretching. So it's an all-rounder, so you can get an insight of the different workouts that I can provide, and that they're free. Brilliant. And then it was probably about a month or so ago, I did like a virtual live one on Facebook. I haven't saved those videos, so I might do another one maybe in September time. I'll see after summer.
Sure. Great. Thank you, Donna. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and so much valuable information for our listeners. So yeah, no, 100%. Well, valuable for me, so I know it will be valuable for my listeners as well. So that's it for today. Thank you again to Donna. Don't forget, you can reach out. I always love hearing from you. It inspires me to know how well you're doing. If there's anything you would like me to cover, feel free to drop me a message. And finally, there are thousands of people out there that are struggling with their relationship with food. So if you know somebody that this podcast might help, please do share it. And if you haven't done so already, please do leave me a little review, a few comments. And that's it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next episode.